And a lot of them were folks who came from a more traditional journalism background and saw technology, or new media back then, as a disruptive tool for good, that was going to more democratically enable people to create or share news or information or stories, because we didn't need to wait for CNN to do it. We could just say, I see this thing, I will tell you about it on this thing called the internet. And that meant a lot of what I was interested in with new media and interested in during my kind of course in the program was, how can we use these tools to give voice to communities who either don't see themselves reflected in the content that's available to them, whether that's online or on TV or in a newspaper, and also give voice to communities to talk to themselves. Because I think a lot of established media, again, whatever channel or platform you're talking about, it has been built with a tradition of talking to the people that can pay for that newspaper, or can own a TV, or can pay for cable, which we don't pay for, but apparently is really expensive now, like crazy expensive now. I talk to people, how do you, okay, that's separate, we could talk about that later, but yeah, which is what we do. So that it already felt like it needed to be disrupted, not just so that those communities who already had access and were participating heard news stories and maybe heard the other side of the same story, but also that other communities could talk within their community and feel validated and that they had information and stories and news to share just like any other community. So that's kind of what took me into it and what I was really interested in, and I think was celebrated in a way in the course, and that we did do like we took the Northwest Indiana Times homepage and redesigned it in one of our classes as our class assignment, and then had the editors come and we presented them with our new, and they got very upset because I don't think that the professor had told them that's what we were doing, as a way to get them to come, because otherwise they probably wouldn't have cared. But we felt very, again, like validated, like, yeah, of course you're upset, because it is this easy to change your model, and it is this easy to let community members have a voice, Yeah. So like, haha, I'm glad you're mad, we're going to change this whether you like it or not.
And have you seen newspapers like the Northwest Indiana Times catch up with
I don't subscribe to the Northwest Indiana Times, living in Oregon.
Yeah.
But I think there are tons and tons of examples of, even on TV, it's normal that you would watch evening news, even on a local level, and see things where they're putting on the screen things that people have tweeted to the station, right? Or here's how you can upload your photo of the current snowstorm, and we will feature a photo of the snow, So I think there are tons of examples where now, 10 years later, whatever level of establishment the media is, they recognize the only way it will be successful and sustainable is if people see themselves in it and want it to continue.
Yeah. So you clearly were seeing in new media the social impact dimension, the possibility of really tying this to social good. How about the other part of your study here, the English major part? Was there something in that felt connected to and preparatory for what you do now?
Well, I mean, we can plug Martin's class, but I think...
That's Martin Bunicki,
yes.
Professor of English Extraordinaire.
Yes, I think for me, I felt like I couldn't have done only one of the majors, because I really did feel passionately, like we were just talking about, but I also felt like I needed to figure out what stories I wanted to tell, or how to tell a story, or even if it isn't formally telling a story, but how to communicate, and how to be able to read someone else's communication, whether it's their story or firsthand account or their expression through poetry, and understand it and be able to connect with them and have a dialogue. Because I feel like you can't do community work if you can't listen to someone else's story in their own words and be able to talk to them. Like, if you always need it to be filtered through NPR, you can't do community work, because you will not be able to hear someone's authentic version of that information. So to me, I did a lot of creative writing and independent creative writing for credit. Just trying to explore that and figure out how do I document the world around me and be able to tell that to others.
Yeah, excellent, wonderful. Well, let's jump ahead
to
your current time and the organization.
Fast forward.
NTEN, yes, fast forward, and yes, tech lingo. So first of all, what does NTEN stand for, the name, and what does NTEN do, the organization?
Sure. Well, it doesn't really matter what it stands for. We don't use we just use the acronym mostly, but it does technically, if you talk to the IRS, stand for the Nonprofit Technology Network. And our mission, I don't want to use mission because then we go to like what's written on your website, and most missions on your website are horrible. Our purpose,
Good word.
what we want to do every day is make sure that every nonprofit, so we don't care where you are, we don't care what your budget size is, we don't care what your mission is. We don't want your mission to be like killing puppies or something, but
right.
We don't have a mission focus. We want every nonprofit to know how to use technology to be effective, because ultimately we shouldn't have 1.8 million nonprofits in the US, because we shouldn't have enough need that facilitates that many nonprofits being in existence. And the only way they're going to go out of business is that we make actual change, lasting change, and not continue to try to operate. So to do that, we need to be more effective, we need to be more efficient so that we can reach more people, we can do more good, and then help those systems change.
And just in a few examples, what are some of the ways you help nonprofits be more likely to put themselves out of business?
Sure. Well, we are a capacity building organization, so our focus is on increasing the capacity of nonprofit staff. So we do lots of training, both kind of formal, we have a professional certificate, formal training, but lots of informal. So we have courses that you could just take one time. We have tons and tons of articles that go up every month on every topic, under the nonprofit sun. We have research we do every year, but we also have a lot of community programs. So nonprofit professionals can find the person who sees themselves as the one person in their organization that gets it, and be able to talk to each other, which is often how folks come to us, is that they feel like they're the only one in their organization trying to manage their website, or they're the only one in their organization that thinks they need to do some reevaluation of their programs. And they come looking for ways to do that. They want to better manage their website or launch a evaluation program, but they also want to find somebody that's done it. They want to talk to those people. So we do a lot of community support in that way too.
That's excellent. I think from the perspective of a college working with undergraduates, Valparaiso University, it's both a college and a university, but I work with undergraduates, and we place undergraduates in internships and fellowships during the summer in nonprofit organizations, and quite often the organization is seeking someone to do that social media stuff, right?
Yeah.
What do you think, from your perspective, what do you think of that trend, and how do you think we should respond as a college in guiding our students or our community partners about that kind of answer to the question, how do we do this?
I would never, you should never say never. So maybe if somebody were going to contribute to the Amy Sample Ward Personal Fund, I would change my message, but I would never advocate that an intern is managing your social media or any other communication channel. Your intern, inherently in the title, is not a permanent staff person. They are not as familiar with your community, with your mission, with your programs as full-time staff. They are not going to stick around. So any voice or authenticity they create in those channels will abruptly change 3 months later when they are not the voice of that channel anymore. And I also think that it's very rare that someone who is in an internship position is as connected to the overall communications strategies to have those channels really, really kind of reflect the goals of that larger communication strategy, so they end up feeling like here's this bubble of Facebook that for some reason this is what we've been doing here, versus here's our communication strategy and all of our different channels are, consistently promoting a certain campaign right now, or next week going to work on this. They naturally become siloed, which isn't helpful for the community's experience either.
Mm-hmm. So then it's obviously great for the learning of our students to have experiential opportunities in nonprofits. How would you guide us to place them and direct them then?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think that being part of the team is more valuable than getting to say, I was completely in charge of Twitter. Because again, you're in that second option, you're in charge of Twitter, but you're all by yourself and it's disjointed, versus saying, I was part of a team, and as part of this whole team, we launched these campaigns and we tracked the success of the campaigns. And you are able to touch all aspects of the work in a way that I think, again, is more valuable for your experience or your resume, but also more valuable to the organization, because then any of the tasks you were responsible for were done in coordination to the larger strategy, versus please just go away and do this thing.
Yeah. So understanding social media and campaigns
as a part
is actually essential to the mission of the organization, and involving everybody, rather than that thing
that can go over there.
Somebody who understands
if you feel like you just have to do it, then don't do it, because you're not going to invest in it well anyway.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, one last question. This takes us a little out of the nonprofit into the civic sphere. And we've seen in the last year in particular, but I think it's been going on for a while, the ways in which social media has been perhaps negatively disrupting our civic conversation. The tendency to sort of isolate people from those who disagree with them, to drive ever deeper into our own little communities, our echo chambers, our silos. Those terms get used a lot. Do you have any thoughts about how our own social media habits can help address this and break out of this?
I think there's two sides. First, we have to remember that technology, despite how much we all may love our smartphones, technology was not delivered down from the heavens for us as a perfect thing. We created it, and humans are broken, and we are going to create broken things. So it's not new that we want to talk to people that agree with us. It is not new that we mostly have friends that agree with us. Yes, social media, especially like Facebook, help visualize that and help us see it, and even maybe in some cases or in some communities exacerbate that. But it is not new because of Facebook, and I think there's a kind of gut reaction to blame the technology for limiting our perspectives. And that, I think, is a bit of a scapegoat, instead of saying, actually, even when I'm not on my phone on Facebook, do I know someone that disagrees with me? And if I knew they disagreed with me, would I go to dinner and then have a conversation about the latest article that they read about the opponent? Probably not, So even though that's not normally what people want, I think we need to own part of the reality. The other part is the technology side, and that's that our algorithms in these tools, the thing that's deciding what you see in your news feed, is being created because of our behavior. So when we continue to click on certain articles or continue to comment on certain friends, the algorithm believes it's doing us a favor and making sure we see every one of those articles, or making sure we see every one of our friends' posts, right? And again, I think there's human intervention that's needed to say, actually, AI, that's not what I want. I built you, thank you for doing what I told you to do, but I need to recognize I want you to not do that. Because the technology can learn. We have certainly advanced our technology and our artificial intelligence to learn and try and make our lives easier. So it's on us to tell the technology that's not what easier is.
Is there a button for that?
It's a very awkward button, and it's not accessible in every one of our homes. Yeah, but
Okay.
yeah.
But to be worked on. But
To be
nonetheless,
worked on.
In your comment that human beings are broken and we make broken things, I hear the perspective of a liberal arts education. That
Yeah.
the needed understanding of who we are,
Yeah.
spiritually, socially, as human beings, as well as makers and users of technology. And
Yeah.
it's wonderful to have you bring that perspective to the work you do and exemplify what an institution like Valparaiso University can offer.
Yay.
So thank you so
Oh my
much
gosh, thank
for
you.
being here.
Yeah.
And we're now going to let you actually eat here.
Yay.